Get ready for hot takes and insight from local industry experts in real estate, business, and lifestyle. He used to play ball with the Padres. He played hockey for the Lobos. Now they're crushing it in the real estate game. Together, they'll showcase the best of the Duke City. This is All About YouABQ.
That's right. It's all about YouABQ. Now, the goal of the show is to highlight our city's industry experts in real estate, culture, and finance so that you walk away with some value and feeling inspired. Now, the way that we like to do that is to answer the questions you may have or interview the guests that you want to see. So we invite you to join the conversation. You can reach out using the hashtag right up here or down below, or join our email list to get some updates about our community and real estate market. I'm Skip Adams, owner of Sold by Skip Real Estate Brokerage here in Albuquerque.
I'm Grant Harvey, a mortgage broker, MLS 343964.
Yeah, that's right. And now you may know Grant as the head coach of the University of New Mexico Lobos hockey team, but now he's absolutely crushing it in the real estate and mortgage game.
You've seen Skip on HGTV's House Hunters, and he is a top 2 producing real estate agents in the nation.
We're going to be talking about some current events, what we were up to last week, because I know that's what everybody really wants to know. We're going to be joined by a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who has made the transition from small business owner and black belt, choking people out, transitioning into a more relaxed business, working in real estate. We're going to hear about his story and transitioning and how he's come to just absolutely crush it in the real estate game so far.
Yeah, I kind of like the yin and yang of his story, right? Real fierce guy and then some tranquility, and what a transition he's made. So.
Yeah. We're going to cover the Mortgage Minute, where we're going to give you some tips and tricks about the mortgage industry, where we see rates going, and kind of how that will affect you day to day. Stay tuned to the end of this episode where we get into Skip's Tips. Skip's Tips. The goal of Skip's Tips is to give you those tips and tricks to help better your real estate game, whether you're investing, a homeowner, or you're just going to kind of get into the market this year. So stay tuned for Skip's Tips. Today we're talking about 5 things that you need to know about. Stay tuned. It was a huge weekend, a long weekend. Talk a little bit about what you did that made it special for you.
Oh, okay, there's nothing special about me overeating, but I did, you know what I did this weekend? I went back into skating, and people think, we're a hockey coach, what does that even mean? I took such a big break from ice skating. I haven't even been on the ice in 9 months, so it felt good to be back home. I feel like I've got my groove back. I've got all the wind in my sails. What are the cliches? I use my gas tanks full. That's what I did. I think that was the most remarkable part of my weekend, getting back on the ice. What did you do?
Well, let's chat a little bit about that, because I didn't do anything too exciting aside from the traditional things that you do over a Thanksgiving weekend. But when people relocate to Albuquerque, one of the things that shocks them the most would be the elevation, the thin air. Yeah. So when you take months off from doing cardio, intense cardio like skating, do you feel a difference?
When I used to skate at sea level, I could skate forever. I felt like I had endless lungs. So this elevation definitely didn't help my comeback.
Here's an ignorant question, but so when it comes to hockey ice, I know that each arena has a little bit different ice. Some is softer, some is freezes a little harder. Is it different at elevation, like at sea level? Can you tell?
No, I don't think it's an atmospheric pressure type of thing. When it does come to ice, it really comes down to how much money are you going to spend in your rink. So really, the colder you keep the ice, the better off you are. I will say that when it comes to humidity, that's a big factor, but we don't face that.
This was the first year we've hosted Thanksgiving in a while.
Yeah.
And you forget what a marathon it is, especially if you only have one oven.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't hosted before, but I think you forgot the invitation, because I had no idea you were doing a Thanksgiving, so I appreciate that.
Oh, no.
But no, it must have been burdensome, and look, I would want to just take a load off yourself. But I hope, I understand hosting would be hard, and that's why I've never done it before. I like to just bring roses to whoever was cooking the meal, and then I come off like a big guy. I've never hosted, probably never will, and probably won't be eating at your house.
Well, that's because you have to be invited for Thanksgiving dinner. One thing that was funny about this year is we tried a new recipe. This is all over the internet. I'm not sure if you have the internet at your house, but for Thanksgiving, what we did was spatchcocking.
Sounds like a remodeling job you do.
Well, we remodeled the turkey. So here's what spatchcocking is. It's a way to cook a turkey in a much less time. So a normal turkey you cooks in like 4 hours, right?
Okay.
If you only have one oven and you have multiple guests coming over and you have to cook multiple turkeys and pies and this and that, you have to do what's called spatchcocking a turkey. And you essentially cut the spine out of the dead carcass. You turn the turkey over and you smash the rib cage so that now you have a flat turkey. And with the surface area, you can cook a turkey in like an hour. But either way, so that was the weekend. Between that, having some pumpkin pie and rolling into the food coma. I don't think it was.
Let's ask this: how much was your turkey? Right, because we're in the age of inflation. Were you astonished? I mean, you're not in the fashion of buying turkeys, but were you astonished about how much everything costs?
Wild. And it varies differently because if you go to Whole Foods or Whole Checks, you know, the turkeys are at an exponential price. If you go to the dollar store, kind of where my family shops.
For turkeys from last year,
you get leftover turkeys, they're still alive. So yeah, it definitely, to speak to inflation. And I know we're kind of gearing up towards now to go into, you know, the mortgage minute, which is your specialty. But I think you bring up a good point about inflation and where that is, you know, kind of taking our whole economy right now.
Yeah, when it's hitting home, you know, groceries. I know eggs are $4.50 now. That used to be a cheap alternative for my protein. Now I could save up for my eggs now. You know, it costs you at the pump. When supply trucks are having to go pay for gas, you're paying for it twice by the time the supplies hit. So I think we're all feeling the burden of inflation. And that's where Fed rates come in. So I'll tie this back into real estate. Fed rates have been raising for inflation. And so what does that mean? Let's bring us into the mortgage minute. A big misconception. People say, oh, Grant, the Fed rates are moving up. What does that mean for mortgages? Are we in big trouble? I will tell you the Fed rates have something to do with mortgage rates and nothing to do with mortgage rates. What does that mean? Fed rates are always trying to battle inflation. Right now we're at 7 and 8%. What that means is the Fed is trying to cut all the extra circulating money out and suppress it. So what the Fed rate impacts is credit card payments with percentage and APR. It impacts car loans and really the rate that banks lend to each other. It does not affect mortgage rates, and I'll tell you why. Mortgage rates are tied into the 10-year bond. The 10-year bond is actually what kind of scales with inflation, but is independent of the Fed rate. So the best way for you to monitor how mortgage rates are going are to watch the 10-year bond. And so there are sometimes the Fed will raise their rates and mortgage rates will actually get lower that day. So that's a misconception a lot of people have, that they're tied in together. They're independent. They still kind of pair together, but they're not solely based on where mortgage rates are headed. So just make sure you contact your local lender and find out where rates are headed. But watch that 10-year bond. That'll probably be the biggest cue.
Here's why you're gonna wanna stay tuned. We're meeting with a black belt in jiu-jitsu. That's more karate.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu. And this gentleman has made the transition from small business owner and black belt in jiu-jitsu into real estate. He's absolutely crushing it. And we're gonna kind of go over his tips and tricks and what he's been up to over the last year. I want to bring on a guest for the show today. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, small business owner who has then made the move into the real estate game. And he's got a fantastic story from start to finish, and kind of we're going to catch up with him on how things are going in real estate, talk about the market as well. I want to welcome our guest, David Binder, to the show.
David!
Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure to be here.
A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
That's true. That is true.
Let me give you a softball question.
All right.
How long does it take the average person to get their black belt?
I would say the average person takes 10 to 12 years to get their black belt.
Wrong.
Okay.
The average person does not get their black belt.
All right, I missed that lane. My journey was a little bit quicker. I got mine in about 7 years. Started out just a young college kid who watched UFC and thought, I'm tougher than those guys. So during a cross-country trip, I stopped at Militich Fighting Systems in Bettendorf, Iowa, which this was 2007. They had 3 UFC champions fighting out of there. So I thought, let me go to the best place in the world and see if I can hang. The owner said, have you ever trained before? I said, no, but I had older brothers who beat me up. He said, fantastic, get in there. Threw me into a pro sparring practice. Didn't go great, took a knee to the chest, cracked my sternum. Spent 3 days in a beautiful Bettendorf, Iowa motel, not able to breathe. I thought to myself, I don't like that people can do this to me. And when I can move again, I'm going to learn how to stop that from happening. I ended up being an international competitor.
Yeah.
The average competitor starts, around 8-9 years old. I got a late start.
That's probably the most significant part of the story, is that you're your late take, because in any great people in the respective sports always have this since I was 5, 6, and hockey couldn't start off that late. So that speaks volumes for your ability and maybe probably natural taking to this sport.
Or it just means I didn't have a lot else going on. And I decided, you know what? I got to catch up to these Brazilians who have been training since they're 8 years old. I'm going to train 10 hours a day and basically quit everything else in life, and lived at the gym for many years. I mean, I've been a 2-time national champion, 2-time medalist at the Pan Ams, a bronze medalist at the World Championships, Colorado Open champion, New Mexico Open champion, all that stuff. 1-0 in MMA. Didn't get paid enough to get punched in the face, so one and done, but 1-0, so I'll take it.
You know, karate and striking and Muay Thai, and then jiu-jitsu, which is not so much, I mean, I guess it's combat. Do you call it? I mean, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a combat sport. Our idea is it's much safer to get close to a guy. He can't hit you hard. He needs distance to be able to hit you hard. I'm going to get close to you. I'm going to grab you. I'm going to put you on the ground. Now, you can't hit me hard at all, so I'm safe. Then I'm going to put you in a submission where I can break your arm, choke you unconscious. So, I mean, it is the most effective combat sport. It's just you're doing less actual damage to your opponent, which is what's so great about it. You can train every single day at full speed. And as long as you have good training partners who let go when you tap, then you can, spar 100% every single day. By 2010, I was having pretty good competition results, still working my way up. But I was given the opportunity to manage a gym, and then really learn the backdoor side of it of,
The business, the accounting, the memberships.
Yes, advertising, everything, client relations, and spent a long time managing gyms, eventually opened my own gym and had a great couple of years with it. And it really blew up and succeeded. What a lot of jiu-jitsu competitors have the idea of, I'm going to have a successful competition career and then I'll open a school.
Right.
And that'll be my life, which they forget there's a big difference between being a good competitor, being a good instructor.
There you go.
Being a good businessman.
Yeah.
You need all three of those to really, you're learning each student reacts to stress differently.
Yeah.
How can I, relate to them? Because jiu-jitsu is highly stressful. Someone's trying to choke you unconscious. So some guys you got to yell at, some guys you have to calm them down and talk to them softly.
Right.
So you're a horse whisperer.
You became a coach whether you wanted to or knew you needed to or not. That's a tough. I can attest to that. Sometimes you go, man, I don't know how I did it. Let me think about how to convey this. I just went out and did it. Yeah. So props to you about that. Do you think that you struck while the iron was hot, or it was just a timing?
I mean, I think I was just a young Albuquerque kid who grew up in the fight culture of Albuquerque.
Yeah.
I saw it in its early stages.
Right.
And then I got lucky. It was good timing where I kind of hit a good point of my skill level and the ability to teach right as MMA was really blowing up and Albuquerque became a hub. And I've had the chance to train guys from Mongolia, Australia, China. I've worked with guys from everywhere, Argentina, every corner of the globe. And I got to just stay here in Albuquerque and they came to me. So that's great.
Yeah.
We survived the virus that should not be named. Luckily, I was able to keep the gym running at a semi capacity. And unfortunately for me, I'd started to develop tumors in the humerus bone of both my arms. And very strange, but the bones just basically started crumbling inside my arm. And I trained on it for about 4 or 5 years, and it felt like training every day with two broken arms. But I got through it because I just loved doing it. And then it got to the point where my arm was falling off and had to get a total shoulder replacement. While I was recovering, I started talking to you a little bit and started studying some real estate, got my license, and slowly but surely just transitioned to this, sold my gym to a good friend of mine who's still running it, and they have a great thing going. But I transitioned, yeah.
You're not really training anymore, but you do have a clinic coming up that you are coaching.
Yeah, I'll be teaching a seminar at Smart Jitsu here in Albuquerque, December 17th, and I have a couple of my old students who were close to the black belt, and it's their time to get their black belt.
So this might be just, you and I are the same in many fashions now because of your trifecta, being a businessman and going in from being an athlete to being a coach. This is everything the Lobo program was. So you've actually stepped away the same way I have as being a GM. Is it hard for you to let go of your baby, right? I mean, even when you let things go, you're inherently always going, just please don't ruin my empire.
Yeah,
Like it's all yours, but I feel like it's a tough thing to say, take it away, but like, please just let my legacy continue.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's like somebody adopting your child. I hand it off to great people. Michelle Watterson, who's a UFC veteran, Rafael Freitas, who's a world champion in jiu-jitsu and was one of the guys who gave me my black belt. So I had a lot of faith that they would be able to continue the program. And they produced a couple of Pan Am champions this year.
Yeah.
A couple of guys won world championships this year out of the school. So, I feel like, while I'm not there every day, my legacy has continued in a good way.
Since April of this year, 2023, this kid has already sold just short of $6 million in real estate, which equates to 15 transactions in only a few months.
I think it really comes down to discipline, which is what jiu-jitsu instilled in me. Like you said, be on time. You learn that as an athlete. That's the easiest thing you can do. Be on time. I'm very coachable. I'm lucky to have, you're giving me lots of good tips, and I like to be criticized. If I do something wrong, tell me I did it wrong so I can fix it.
You came to the right place.
Yeah,
you like to
that's
be
right.
criticized.
Yeah.
What a perfect
Stand up. Let's
show.
look at your outfit.
The shirt's questionable. Okay, what else do we got?
Yeah.
Who do you now, and who did you look up to in the jiu-jitsu world? Who's your role model and said, I want to be like this guy?
That's a great question. I mean, to me, the greatest competitor of all time is a guy named Roger Gracie.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Who 10-time world champion.
Yeah.
And I loved his very humble, just a workaday guy, never was there talking crap about his opponents, but just went in, beat everybody, and walked away without a big smile, without going crazy. Whether he won or lost, he never really lost. He acted the same, and I just really respected that style.
Where can viewers reach you, or if somebody has a need in real estate, how do they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Dave Binder, BJJ. You can find me at david@soldbyskip.com. If you Google my name and real estate, I'll pop up, and my contact info's there.
Well, you've done a fantastic job. Well, stay tuned to the end of the show as we're gonna do a little bit of a wrap up, talk about where we see our market going. And then, of course, look, it's everyone's favorite. I don't even have to introduce it, do I?
No.
I will. Stay tuned for Skip's Tips. This week on Skip's Tips, something very important is kind of close to home, but it's something that you should be aware of. We're going to go over 5 things that homeowners insurance does not cover. The first thing that homeowners insurance does not cover is flood. Okay, so if you're in a position where you're buying a property in a floodplain, you will be required to buy homeowners insurance and flood insurance. Now, the good news is your lending professional like Grant Harvey will be able to walk you through that process on how to get it done. The second thing that you need to know that homeowners insurance does not cover is earthquakes. Now, a lot of people think that we don't have earthquakes here in Albuquerque, but the reality is the Sandia Mountains are huge. The volcanoes on the west side, these are all seismic activities, so there is maybe a potential to get earthquake. But just keep that in mind, homeowners insurance is not going to cover against earthquake damage. The next thing, and this one strikes really close to home because I was in this exact situation, and that's kind of the reason for Skip's Tips this week, mold. How do we get mold? Well, I had a rental property with a tenant in place who was a real knucklehead. There happened to be a leak behind the wall that was going on for, as it turns out, years. The tenant said, yeah,